Hello. Today I'm going to do a start to finish Panopto session. So I'm going to show how to add a Panopto block to organize your files on Panopto, and then how to display your lectures in the various weeks if that's what you want. I've come to an old course, and the first thing I want to do is see whether it has a Panopto block already. The blocks are these things on the side, and the Panopto will always be on the right, and no, it isn't here. So we'll add one straight away. I need to turn editing on, either here with the gear wheel or here on administration. And now in the blocks on the right hand side there'll be a new one that says add a block. From this menu alphabetically I can find Panopto and I click on it once. Now that we've added a Panopto block, we should find it in this column of blocks, and here it is. And because we've just added it, there are obviously no live sessions, no completed recordings, and whatever podcasts are, there are none of them. But we are interested in this link, because if I click on course settings, it takes me to the settings for Panopto on this course. You may be lucky and arrive on the correct page, but very likely when you get here it'll look terribly confusing and just be a list of seemingly random videos, and you might start to panic and click home, and then you find a completely different range of videos that you don't recognize. But don't panic, because if you look here along either my folder, where you'll have a folder just for your own personal stuff. I have two here which I no longer remember what they are. Or browse, you'll feel a lot more safe. And when I click browse, I can see that the last places I've been are my folder and that course that we've just put our block on. So if I click here, it opens up a folder with all of my videos, which is precisely none. I know it's the right course because the title's at the top here, and anything that I add here will be available on that course. If I want to organize my videos, I could maybe have a folder just for me. I type my name, click enter, and here's a folder that I can use to keep my work separate but still be available on the course. Should I want to get rid of this folder or change it, I click to enter it. Now I see I'm inside the SAM folder, and I can come to the folder settings here. That will allow me to change the name, for example, and if I want to get rid of it, I choose manage from this menu, delete, and agree that I want to delete it. And you see the folder's gone and we're back to the parent folder for this course. So when you're on Panopto and you're lost, don't panic, just come to browse and the folder that you've been looking at will be in this list. The next thing I need to do is upload a video. So I'm going to come to the create. I could of course record a video, but I'm going to upload one. It opens this file picker, and I can choose from my videos a lecture that I recorded earlier. In fact, this is just a dummy lecture which is very, very short so that the file uploads quickly. But as soon as I've got it here, it tells me it's processing. I can close that. And now we see in our folder this video is here. What we're interested in is, well, a few things. Settings, obviously I can use to change the name or to delete it as before. But this share button, if I click here, it tells me that I'm sharing with pretty much the people that I should be sharing with on the course. And it gives me two things at the top, embed or link. Let's look at link first. If I click on it, it highlights, and I can copy that and now go back to my Moodle page. Of course, editing is still on because we added the Moodle block. So let's add that as a lecture to week 1, term 1. I click on add an activity or resource, and the URL is the very last thing in the list. And the URL is just the name for that address we copied. I click on add, and I'll call it lecture 1. And then for the external URL, I just need to paste what I copied, the link that I copied. I can write a description about my lecture here, and the other things I'm just going to leave as blank, but by all means play with them. I'm going to leave as their default. I'll save and return to the module. Now we should see when we get back that week 1, term 1 has this lecture. I'm going to quickly look at the Panopto block, and I see that there are no completed recordings here. So what that means is if I click on this lecture now, I won't be able to watch it because it's not ready. The session is being processed, etc. I'll go back. But I don't need to worry, because as a lecturer I know that I've put my content there, and as soon as it's processed it will be available for the students to click on here and watch. Let's look at a more glamorous way of doing the same thing. I'm coming back to my Panopto session and it's uploading here. This time I'm using the same share, but instead of taking the link, I'm going to take embed. And once you open embed, it's going to open a little video player. The default sizes are given here and I would just accept them. And here is our code, and there's a button to copy code. If I click here, it tells me that it's copied successfully, so I can go back to my Moodle page. Let's pretend that that's the lecture for week 2 and we're going to add it here. This time though, to open it in a player, I'm not going to add an activity. I'm going to click on this little gear wheel here. Now this allows me to edit the section, and depending on what style has been chosen for Moodle this year, it might appear in different places, but it will be this gear wheel. When I click on it, it's going to open up the settings page just for that section. This section was called week 2 term 1, and anything that's typed here will appear in that section above all of the activities that we've added. What we want to do is just simply add our Panopto. So I can add it here. Perhaps it would be useful to give it a title first, lecture 2, and I might want to make that a little bigger. And now I'm going to add Panopto. This is the insert from Panopto dialog, and on it will be all of the lectures that we had on our Panopto page, which for us of course is just this one. So I select the one that I want to insert here, I scroll down and I click on insert. This is what our page is going to look like. That's okay. I'll save the changes. Now when we look at week 2 turn 1, there's this rather elegant player. I don't know which you think is going to be best, the discrete lecture here or the large player. I suppose that depends on how central lectures are to your teaching, but 2 different ways of adding your Panopto lecture. I notice that when I come down to the Panopto block, the lecture has appeared here. So let's try and play it on our player. I can go full screen, I can go small again, and the 4 seconds of nonsense that I recorded are visible here. Obviously the same would happen if I click here, but this time we've gone to Panopto to see it. I can click back to get back to the lecture. And lastly, coming down to our Panopto block, I can watch it by clicking here, and I see exactly what I saw with the previous link. I guess that's probably all you need to know about it, and you'll all be happy to add those things to your course. Just to give you a little revision, I'm going to undo everything I've done. So by all means switch off now, but if you just want that refresher of going through it backwards, you can stay and watch till the end. So editing is switched on, good. And first of all, let's get rid of this. I click on the gear wheel. Here is my editor, and I'm going to select everything with Control A and delete. Save changes. And it's gone. Next, let's get rid of lecture 1. That's simple. I just click on the edit next to it and delete. Am I sure? Yes, I am. Good. Before I get rid of our Panopto block, I'm going to use this useful link to get to the Panopto page, and I can finish with settings. I've come back to our page. I want to get rid of this video. Well, in the same way as we did for the folder, I go to settings. Once I'm on settings, I'm interested in manage, and at the bottom of the page is delete. Again, it asks me if I mean it. Yes, I do. Now the folder contains no videos. I can close that tab and come back. Interestingly, the link is still here on our Panopto block, but this time when I click it, it takes me to this message telling me that it's probably been deleted. The last thing I want to do to undo all my changes is get rid of the Panopto block itself. Every block when editing is on has this gear wheel with a drop down menu, and I can delete it here. Am I sure? Yes. And now, unless you are fantastically pedantic, I really recommend you switching off. This next 30 seconds is just for me. I can't help but notice that this space here is a little bit smaller than this space here, and I think something was left in there. So I'm going to go back to my gear wheel. Please, if you haven't switched off, switch off, because I'm embarrassed a little about what I'm doing here. Now that the thing has opened, my summary is completely empty, but that's a little line break, so I'm going to highlight it and delete it and save changes. And I think you'll like what you see when we come back to the page. Oh yes, they're all exactly the same. I hope that was helpful to you. Bye.